All
Bow,
right,
bow,
so
bow.
starting off, NFL prospects will not be testing at the combine. Guys like Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, Caleb Williams. I mean, it just came out that Caleb Williams was literally just talking about he's not even going to do the medical evals. The top three quarterbacks. So once again, Caleb Williams, we have Jaden Daniels, and Drake May all will not throw as well. So that opens up the door for a lot of other guys. But what does this mean for? Is this going to be? I know this has kind of been a trend going on in the league. The top end guys coming into the combine, they won't throw or they won't test or they won't do a handful of things. Is this going to just continue the trend where more first round guys are not going to do things? I mean, they're solidified. A guy like Marvin Harrison Jr., he's solidified. A guy like Caleb Williams, he's solidified. They don't. I get it. You don't really have to test. You're probably going to do a lot of your stuff at your pro day, but I mean, it sounds like Marvin Harrison Jr., he might not even do stuff at his pro day either. So what precedent is this really setting, and what does this mean for the other prospects coming in?
I think the tough part about it is, like the Rams, they don't even go. These teams have started to not view the combine as important. And it's kind of like what you and I have said, where I'm going to hold on to these values based off of the plays that I watch these players make in these college football games that I watched and the film that I'm going to look at. Not so much about what I see on the combine, but
Mm-hmm.
it's those late round prospects where this stuff is really important. So I'm actually not super upset at the fact that a player like Caleb Williams or whatever doesn't show up to the combine, because we don't need to take the shine off of somebody that we know is going number one or number two. We don't
Right.
have to take the shine off of the number one wide receiver in the class, the number two wide receiver in the class. It just gives you more of an opportunity to see these fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh round talents. I do think that there's a certain opportunity for a player like JJ McCarthy or a player like Bo Nix
Yeah,
or Michael
definitely.
Penix to really come out and set the world on fire. And now you're talking about a player that might be early second round. I know the Seahawks are all over Michael Penix in the second round. You're talking about a player that might go in the second round, might improve his draft stock. And if you're a fringe second round player, you want to go 30th, 31st, 32nd because it gives you that fifth year option. It gives you the longer contract. It gives you the big payday at the end.
There's going to
Assuming
be
you
a
play
team that
well and
jumps
get
into
it.
the first round. There's going to be a team that jumps back into the first round for one of those quarterbacks, Bo or Michael.
Absolutely, especially if they show out at the combine. But do we
Oh,
really
yeah.
need to see Caleb Williams go out there?
Yeah, right.
Not really.
And the thing is this, especially for Bo, he didn't have the best senior, the Senior Bowl. He didn't have the best Senior Bowl show out. So if he doesn't have a great combine, I mean, this could really lower his draft stock to be a solidified second instead of maybe a late first. And this pushes Michael Penix in front of him. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how that kind of back and forth happens there. The other thing that this kind of puts a shine on is Rome Odunze, the third wide receiver on a lot of people's boards from Washington. He's going to end up going out, and he's slated to go through all the on-field testing this week. So he could really rise his draft stock. I mean, he's pretty much going to be a solidified top 12, 13, 14 pick. Most people's mock drafts, he's a top 10 pick. So for me personally, he's my second wide receiver on my board. But it's really close between Neighbors and Odunze. So again, it kind of opens the door for a lot of these guys to go onto the field and have this opportunity. I mean, just today, we're recording this on February 29th, and the combine already started. And what was that dude's name? Defensive lineman Fisk. I don't know if you saw any of his stuff coming out so far. So you have Byron Murphy, right, who's supposed to be the solidified number one interior defensive lineman. But then you have this guy Fisk who's coming out, and he's trying to solidify himself as like a top end second round pick, maybe even a late first, because all his testing has been off the charts so far today. And, guys like that push themselves in, right? You see a guy like Trayvon Walker who's like, oh, yeah, he probably might be a first round pick. And all of a sudden he tests off the charts and he's the first overall pick in the draft. I'm not saying, obviously, a guy like that, if like Fisk is going to be a first overall pick in the draft. I'm just saying stuff like this happens.
Not this
Opportunities
year, he
open,
ain't.
right? So opportunities open up for these guys when others, the top end guys, are not testing. So there's a push and pull there. I don't really mind it too much. I know that there's old heads out there who want to say, I want to see these guys compete. I don't care that you're a top end pick. I want you to compete in these on-field testing. And what some people forget is that's not the point of the combine. The whole point of the combine was medical evals. That was the entire thing. Medical evaluations was the original point of the combine. And there was only like one or two MRI machines back in the day when they were trying to do the combine testing. And so they literally like, well, since you guys are standing around in a long ass line, why don't we go ahead and just have you guys, I don't know, do these on-field tests. Let's interview you guys. And now it's turned into this entire ordeal that, the combine has turned into nowadays. Now, I think the combine has taken a step back from a couple of years ago. More pro days are more important nowadays. I mean, aren't they putting on like a Big Ten combine instead of having a bunch of different pro days now? So I think the combine's taken a step back, but that was the original point of the combine. It's not for the on-field testing. It's the medical evaluations and the interviews at the end of the day.
Well, I also think that the analytics in football have just gone, we know what is the they have it, but it's the stat that tracks how fast the player's running, whatever that company is called. It's got like green writing on it or whatever, but they know how fast these players are running in the games. They know how many route runs they've run. They put the route trees up after the games and everything. So I don't think, I remember Zach Wilson's pro day where he did that. He rolled out across his body and flicked that ball down the field, and it went viral everywhere. And it was kind of funny because everybody already knew Zach Wilson was going as the number 2 pick. And I think I saw something today that he's been allowed to request a trade because it's not working out too well for him over there in New York.
It's almost